Well, it's only 5:20, but I turned on more lights because I cannot figure out why the other day that video stayed so dark. It's like my phone did something. I don't know. It's strange, but so anyways, I just was like, I'm just gonna turn more lights on, and I'm also in the same thing. Like, what the hell am I about to talk about? One thing, one thing that I wanted to say that I keep forgetting is when I was looking at the videos, when I see them, is when I'll see the numbers change. That was the point, is like if I'm paying attention, like that one, and they'll do stuff that's obvious too, and then they'll like put the brakes on it or something. As one was going up really fast on this one day, and then it was like to 454 or something when I went to bed, and then I get up and it's 450, and then it wouldn't go for days, and I think yesterday it went to 451 or something. And but all these different videos, I've had people say they can't like things, they can't it doesn't notify me of comments and stuff. It's like when you're on the other end of censorship, it's a fucking so aggravating. It's such bullshit. All this government overstep. I just saw a couple other videos that were one of them, oh my god, I was so frustrated listening to this. And this was uh, man, there's been more than a couple of these just bullshit things with animal. There's so much bullshit stuff, like I've been saying, with this whole fucking rescue thing. There is fucking corruption in everything. Everything. And people are always taking advantage. There's this guy who in North Carolina or South Carolina, and he always does these videos where he's just making all this money, but he overcharges people and stuff. Like, it's good. He goes out and does this work himself and prices this stuff and stuff. But then I just saw one where he's bragging how he just overcharges. You just got to upcharge. You know, this old guy, he's trying to do this work, and it's like, well, that's another 1,000. And the guy's all proud of it because how much money he makes. It's good to go out and be independent, but you shouldn't be out trying to fuck people over. And if you think that that karma's not going to come back on you, well, I would say, I don't know, you know, I don't know this guy's deal, but just that energy of, you know, screw people over is not the energy you want to be putting out. And so this, one of the ones I had heard, it was weeks and weeks ago, and I found it so frustrating. It was this couple in California, and they had kids. They were having money problems or something. They were trying to live in their van. And then and they have like a couple of big dogs and another little dog. And so they had their dog staying with one of them's parents. And they had a fenced yard, and they were, you know, like an hour and a half or 3 hours away or something. So they had their dogs staying there while they were trying to get moved to a bigger place that had more space where they could have their dogs out around their trailer thing. And so this whole weird thing happened in her story about, I don't even know, but it sounded like Animal Rescue just went and stole these dogs out of this person's yard, and then open the gate or something, and because their other little dog was found, but the two expensive dogs disappeared. And so the family starts, you know, they drive up there, they start looking everywhere, they start finding like all this different animal rescues and animal shelters, and there's all this just shuffling, and then they didn't have them chipped or something, which this chip thing has got me freaking, just think about it. What do they want to do to us? And then they've already got us doing it to these animals. They do it to animals in the forest and stuff like that. It's like, you just got to look at the other side of things. And so anyways, this lady can't find her dog, or can't find her two dogs, and is just in this rotation of this weird calling. Finally, she starts doing these TikToks and stuff, and so she starts getting more attention, and so she starts getting more help, and then she starts getting more with this animal control and animal shelter and all this stuff, and finding, kind of tracking where her dogs were moved to, and they were moved and then adopted out, and they won't tell them. It's like, how many of these rescues are full of, so you just steal these people's dogs right out of their yard and you adopt them out real quick. Okay. I was like, this is some bullshit, man. Fucking hell. Like, oh my God. And so, because you think about, like, you know, if that happened, that's how I think of stuff in life. Like, I think that is a part of what, not everybody has that yet, or not everybody does that. But like, put yourself in someone else's position. Put yourself, like, what if that was me? And not in the position of like, oh, well, they're so stupid. If they wouldn't have done that, if they should have done this, they should have done that. That's where you find judgment. But if you go into it and you put yourself in the situation and you have, you know, empathy and compassion, and you also learn from the situations. But like, fuck, if that was still, I would lose my fucking mind. Like, oh my God. It just, fuck, the overstep in this goddamn government is just so disgusting. And then, you know, flip this around on this other side. So this woman, she had went and got this little rat terrier dog at a rescue place that had like 40 dogs. She said they had gone to get some different one. But when they got there, there was these dogs. There was like from dogs 150 pounds to 5 pounds. She said, all just running around this property. And so I don't know, she wanted to get one of these smaller dogs or something, is whatever. So she switched to this other dog, and she ended up getting this dog 8 years ago. And she, you know, trained. It was really, really smart. She has all sorts of videos of it doing tricks and stuff. And so she has loved this dog for 8 years. And the dog has grown old. The dog was 5 when she got it, and now the dog was more, couldn't hear and see and stuff. And she had the dog outside in the yard, and then it was starting to rain, so she went out to go get him, and the dog had left the yard. She had found a place where the dog had just left a hole in the fence. So she went out and started searching and searching. She couldn't find him. Then she went and looked online, and somebody had found him in the block over. So they go rushing over there. Well, sorry, we couldn't keep him, so we just call the animal shelter. The animal shelter zips out there as fast as possible and grabs these dogs. Because it's weird, because there's a lot of stories you'll hear. And the people always have the option, I think, if like, well, can you hold the dog till the people contact you? And some people are like, no. And but some people will, because I had this happen in my neighborhood long time ago with our dachshunds. And they had gotten out of our yard, and somebody had gotten them a block over, and they did hold them. So then when we were calling the rescue note, like trying to find them and stuff, and then there was a line that you could call, and it would say the different dogs that had been found and where they were and stuff. And so it gives you a phone number or something of the people. So we called, and then we just went over there, and they gave us our dogs back. So it was like, you know, really good on that. And then, and that was before microchipping. And, you know, our dogs, we didn't have them wear collars. Like Stella doesn't wear a collar because she has a microchip. But still, like, the microchip thing is funky too. So this lady, people didn't keep her dog. They had animal shelter come and get it real quick. So she got to the animal shelter before the animal shelter guy was even there. This is so odd. And so then her dog gets out of the thing. Well, no, they, at this point now, they have to have the dog be seen. They have to do paperwork. They have to scan them and all this stuff. And so because they were joking around, like they thought they'd get their dog back before it was even in there. One time our dogs got out, and it did. Maybe it was one of them, the 2 of them got out. One was at the neighbors and one was at the pound. And at night, my husband at the time, this is the one I raised the kids with. So we were out looking for the dog or something, and we go up, or maybe the people had said, I don't remember, but because we had gone to the people's house, but then I remember we had gone to the pound. And I don't know if this 2 separate times, but at the pound thing. So they have the dogs, maybe the people took it up there or something. And you can take the dog up there to an outside part and lock him in. Anyways, my husband went in and broke in. He went and broke the lock, broke in and stole our dog back. It's like, fuck that bullshit. I'm not going to go pay $89 the next day to get my own goddamn dog back. And these people even made her readopt her own dog. And so she, so when they had chipped it, her chip had fallen out of the dog, but some old chip from the rescue place was in there. In the rescue place, like there was old people. One of them was dead now, and the woman didn't know. She didn't know who was the other chip. She didn't know if it was the people who had the dog first. And so she's panicking and freaking out that these people are going to want their dog back after she has spent the last 8 years with it. And now it's older, and she wants to take care of it and love it while she has time with it. And so she had to do all this legwork. Like, she had to go find the address, look on Google Maps, find the thing. It was like, track this lady down, and then went back to the pound, had the lady call, because then at first they put a dog on a 72-hour hold. This is your own motherfucking dog. The government fucking overstep in our lives is so, and how much we allow it, how much that we just, okay, what should I do next? Oh, please, government, please let me, it's like, fuck off with this shit. And so she, and don't forget, they fucking came out here when Trixie had jumped over the gate, and fucking psychopaths over there, which they got in a fight yesterday with some other people. Like, they're fucking just rah people. And so they had called an animal control thing, and they had sent me a ticket thing and told me I had to pay this ticket because my dog, it was still in my own motherfucking driveway, motherfuckers. And so they were going to ticket me. I didn't pay it. I am fucking ignore their shit. Like, all this stuff. Like, I see people, well, these people begging, like, everybody help me pay off my bills. Watch my video for 60 seconds and shit like that. Stop paying the motherfucking bills. Stop. Just stop paying them. Fuck. Keep telling people and telling people. It's like, God damn. So, but this is it. Oh, please just help me get him off my back. It's like, just step away. Just step away. Stop looking at him. It's like, zoom out. It's like, fuck those motherfuckers. God damn. Fucking bullshit, man. I guess I'm gonna cuss a little bit. So so anyways, she has to go through all this rigmarole to finally get her dog back. And then she has to readopt it. She has to pay them to readopt her own motherfucking dog. And before that they will even fucking do anything, everything has to be up to date on all those things. Well, what if you don't believe in those things? Well, then your dog can't go get groomed. It can't get its nails cut. It can't go to the vet. It can't, like, it's the fucking control. Like, if you can't see the stranglehold that they put on us and that we just fucking submit, surrender, okay, whatever you say, I'll do it. I was like, fuck off. This next one too, this fucking pissed me off. I was sitting here watching this thinking, something was going to come of it. And then by the end of it, I was motherfucking fuming. So this video is a guy pulling into a parking lot, and he is on a Zoom call when you got a judge and you got a courtroom, and this guy's in his car. And the judge starts saying, are you driving? And the guy goes, oh, wait, I'm just pulling the doctors. Let me just pull in. I'm pulling in right now. I'm parking. And the judge is just sitting there like, and the guy's like, still doing his thing. And then the judge goes again like, okay, are you parked? And the guy's like, okay, what? 1 minute, okay, I'm parked now, And so then the judge says something, and the public defender says something about getting it thrown out or something. And the judge is like, what? You want his driving with no license thrown out when he's in court driving? Like, no, we're not throwing that out. We are going to, he needs to be in jail today. So he's going to jail over this. And I don't know if he was refusing bail or something, like, you'd have to hear. I'll share the video again. But it was like, are you fucking kidding me? And so then the guy is just sitting there getting more frustrated. He's just like, doesn't even know what to say. And the judge is just like, slamming him, telling him, you're breaking the rules. These rules right here. I'm in charge of the rules and you're a rule breaker. It's like, fuck off. If this fucking guy in the car would have known his motherfucking rights, they cannot force us to be licensed. But you got to start speaking up about your human rights. You got to say, hey, I don't have to have a license. I'm not out selling stuff out of my car. I'm just using it to get from here to there. So you can't force me to have a license. That's my human rights. And that's like in the fucking Declaration of Independence or Bill of Rights or some bullshit. That is what they, that's one reason why I think that they don't want kids to read cursive, because the more rights they can take away. Oh, and I'll share this video too, because I thought this was good. Joe Fixit, he had just come up with this thing of like, it's something with the Gen X, and he was looking something up. It has to do with DuPont and fluoride and an introduction into society. And this stuff happens to be called Gen X. And so he's like, I don't know, to me, he was like putting it all together. And this is what I have said for a long time, that each introduction, when every generation where they were like, okay, this is Gen X, this is like Jen Jones now, there's and boomers, which I had said, the boomers, man, that is like all of a sudden when you just realize, like, fuck, they were already doing this shit. Like, I said, oh God. So when they decided, where were they, how were they categorizing us before? Because, it had to still be more categories. But anyway, so when they had decided about the boomers, because during their war, and they had taken all these guys and, were destroying people's lives. Like World War II, there were so many young guys that were killed. It just makes me think of that movie Majestic. It is a whole town of men were killed. And then, the one who was still there, and he was, like had his arm blown off or something. But, there was so much destruction to our society. And so much lies, like motherfucker. Like if you watch the old movies, like I can't even with some of the fucking propaganda on the bullshit with that. They were pushing so hard on that shit. And then, now like what we're seeing of the fucking lies about, it's the whole fucking thing. It's all fucking, but it was being pushed so hard in the propaganda and the movies during the 40s, I think in the 30s too. I'd have to actually look at the dates in the movies, but there's a period of time, just like how they push so much stuff right now in ours. Like I've done it throughout. Like if you really, I don't know, got into like the movies historically of what they were, the propaganda that was coming out of them during the time and how it influenced and affected the people, especially the generation, the up and coming generation at that time, like the effect of Elvis on that generation. Well, Elvis didn't affect my generation, but he sure the fuck affected my mom's generation. So it is like that kind of thing. Like this, like Selena Gomez, she affected these certain people, or Justin Bieber, it is a certain period of time, and it is like introductions of stuff, and then they create these categories. But I thought that was so interesting that whatever this, one of the things that they introduced was actually called Gen X or whatever, however it is, especially like if you have an understanding of how labs work and how things are categorized and the introduction of things to see how it changes and stuff. And I think, they teach you that in basic science stuff. Like I know I learned it in college science, but, I think that they teach that stuff in science, but a lot of people, aren't paying attention to that kind of thing in school. You're thinking about who's taking you to prom or whatever. You're not thinking about, you're just getting this thing done and, you know, watching everybody else and just doing your thing. You're not really going through the process and learning what's happening. There's a few people, I think, in class that do, but those are the people who find it interesting. There's like, we have different interests, and they're trying to force us to all comply into these certain groups, and then they call us, you know, stupid or whatever, because you don't think like this group of people who are interested in that and who understand it. It's a part of their understanding of their process of you know, like feeding information into a computer, and it's able to process this information, but then it can't process this information because it's set to process this. So it's kind of like we're all like that. We all have certain things that we, you know, can process, and then other things that, I don't know, to me it seems like we're here to learn and grow. I mean, I've thought that for a long time. And you know, I just have different perspectives on some of this stuff with spirituality and living and stuff like that, because I've been living a spiritual life since I was young. So it's not new to me, you know, like so many people are just waking up to, you know, being a soul, having a soul, life having purpose and meaning and stuff. It's like they're just coming into that state of consciousness. But yeah, I already was living like that. So how I look at things is, you know, different than how some people do. Like, I just saw this guy. This guy is he's like a, I don't know, maybe he's a minister or something. He's very what is that called? Brimstone, kind of like I don't know. There's a lot of these religious people who are, you know, it's the end times, redemption, you know, or whatever their stuff. Because redeeming yourself or redemption or whatever would be you putting things back into order. You know, you don't have to go through your life review. You can recognize your own imbalances and go deeper and try and put things into order for yourself. And pulling in, you know, like balance, where, you know, it's not as difficult as you think. It's just you finding balance, because the information, what you need, is coming to you. So it's just you beginning to understand how to read it and how to maneuver it. And so you finding balance will pull in balance, but balance isn't what people automatically think, because balance has to do with being vulnerable, being protective, and being authentic, and being there was one that came into my mind. Oh, because boundaries is so fucking important. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and so one thing is you got to recognize with boundaries, even if nobody is giving you value, and you start going into defense mode, like getting mad at people and stuff, you're not giving yourself value at that point. You're just becoming resentful and angry because others aren't giving you the value you think you deserve. But what you need to do, the counter side, the side that you need to approach, is you giving to you. They may not recognize how important you are to them, but you need to recognize it. You need to prioritize you. You need to make time for you. And you time is more important than any time, because you have to have time to recharge. Like, how long could your phone go if it was never recharged? You have to recognize what you need to recharge. And it's not necessarily going and getting drunk with your friends and playing pool. You know, that is still, you're plugged in, you're still on, you're still performing, you're still winning, you're still losing, you're still doing something. Unplugging is you time, is you, just you, you know. It's, you know, to me, I said, you know, because it's also free, is find yourself a little quiet spot, a little spot by a stream or a river or by a big tree, and go take time to just be out. And nature is more of where you're going to unplug, because there's no demands. That energy that's coming is more of feeding you. Like sitting on the ground is grounding you. It's giving you energy. It's like the earth is, it's just like a plug-in for a phone. And so it's giving back to you. And so it's where you can clear your thoughts, you can clear your mind, you can reset yourself, you can, because otherwise you can get yourself where you're just churning all day long. You're just on, go, go, go. And becoming more angry and resentful because you feel like everybody's demanding and commanding this of you, and you keep giving it and trying to please them, and nobody's being pleased. And so it's like where you have to go like, okay, something's wrong here. Like I'm giving way more than I'm getting. And so there, nobody's going to give back. I've got to give back. You got to give back to you. It's your job. That is a part of this awakening. That is a part of this learning. Oh, what was that one? That was a good one because, oh yeah. Yeah, this was good because I hadn't thought about this before. So this is a young girl, and she was oldest child, check, and she had 7 siblings, but they was all 2 parents. I had 9, but I was oldest. I had 9, but I 2 parent or 4 parents. Well, no, then it would be 10 because my dad's, we think love child with my stepmom because they had been in a long time affair before they ever got together. He didn't even claim her or anything until my mom started this affair with this young guy with these other kids. And so, anyways, these other introduction to these other little kids while I was still a teenager. And so, it wasn't the same, responsibility as when you are young with your kid, with the kids. Then it's a lot more of like, when you're older and the kids are younger, this is like babysitting more or something. But still, I was getting kicked out of houses and stuff at that point. I was already the problem child. And, but anyways, this girl was talking about being raised in being the oldest child and being raised in an authoritative household. And when she was explaining, I was like, "Oh, that was the same, with mine." My mom was more of a colder, unfeeling, distant person, and she always like when I look back on life, it's always like just this ghost going through the house. Oh yeah, I didn't finish that story with that guy, that preacher guy with the thing up in the sky because it looks like a ghost soul thing. I'll try and get back on that too. So that's what I said because it's like, what is this? What is it? And I said, that's a soul. And it's up in the sky. A whole bunch of people have got it on video. Like, you got to be able to see this thing at this point. It looks like a guy up there moving around, and then he turns and spins into color, and then he goes back to taking form, and he's a light being and stuff. But you got to think everything is realms and realities. Like, he could be some reality that we can't see, but we're picking up on his image. So that's what you got to think about, realms and realities, and how it's all over the place. And that's why I'm telling you, our travel is different than what they tell us and everything. And so anyways, I came from a home that was more like that. My dad was alcoholic and he was a predator, and then he was gone a lot. A lot of times he never came home until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Like, he would come dancing into the kitchen in the morning, ready to get his vodka going. And but he always had this like a certain charm. He was very charismatic. He was very charming. He was very lovable. And but he was also, he was very violent to my mom. And but I don't even know all of their combativeness. Like, I'm sure there's like a lot of deep wounds from that whole thing. And, my mom was 16 when she got together with him. So, and, I think she still has healing to do. But that is the thing with a lot of older people, is that they don't have the same acknowledgement. Now my stomach's growling. They don't have the same acknowledgement as people like my daughter's age, where, getting counseling. If you're not getting counseling, then what are you doing? Like, if you're not trying to better yourself, if you're not trying to heal and stuff, like, what's wrong with you? And so it was very different. you know, the generations of what was available, what was talked about and stuff. You know, just like to me, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? They're not making these kids do cursive. At first, it was like, what in the hell? Why would they? It was like such a huge thing. Second grade, like, fuck. And I wasn't good at it. And it was like, you better learn cursive. Slant it. I wasn't good at slanting. Like, it was so fucking ridiculous. And then it's like, oh, we're not teaching that anymore. Well, then, especially you get to the point of being able to see, like, oh, all the important documents are in cursive. That's a coincidence. Like, and then when you see these kids who cannot read cursive, like, they motherfucking can't read it. It's like, and any of us who have looked at a book or looked at a newspaper or anything of another language and you can't read it, you just like bug. So that's what they are creating. More. Oh, okay. God, I'm gonna skip around now. Like, it's so funny. Sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about. Just like boom, boom, boom. Because this was something. The other day I was making something. I was stirring something. And I don't have, you know, a tiny kitchen, so I don't have all of the fancy things, all the gadgets. And I don't have the big fucking mixer bowl. And I used to have one, and I ended up giving it to one of my daughters or something. But I think it was because it was from my mother-in-law, and then we got divorced. Anyways, it was one of those great big expensive things. And so it went, I don't know, to one of her grandkids or something. So, but I don't have one of those now. But I know how they work, you know, and all that stuff. And so people who are cooking all the time on TikTok are always using those things, like for everything. And the other day, I was making something. I'm stirring and stirring and stirring. Oh, yeah, because I made peanut butter cookies with Crisco. I saw an old recipe. And I had bought this Crisco the other day. I was like, you know, I this Crisco sitting here, and I feel like I really need to get this Crisco for some reason. And so I got it, and I knew something was going to come up with it. So this recipe of these cookies, which I made, but anyways, it was a lot of stirring with this Crisco and peanut butter and eggs, you know, getting it in there to go together. And which if you add sugar in too, that gives more of a emulsifier or something. It makes it easier. And so I'm stirring and stirring. I'm, you know, all these muscles are working, and I'm like, my stomach, my core now, and I'm like, damn, you know, fucking cooking was exercise. You know, before all the gadgets where they're always like, work smarter, not harder. You know, don't do the work. That's stupid. And I've talked about this for years, but anyways, I just found this fascinating. So I had, you know, was stirring and stuff. And so then I did a video about it, and this guy who was talking to me, he could see the same thing. He's like, yeah, it's so much exercise when you make the thing. And I said, yeah, and go down and clean your floors by hand. You know, that's some fucking work. Like, you get an exercise there. And, you know, and so we didn't go deeper, but I go deeper on here. And I talked about this so many times, but about the working smarter, not harder, is really making us weaker and not making us, you know, like it's a surrender to our potential, because we're not going to become stronger. And it's true, because now there's studies coming out, and this neurologist, oh yeah, that other study too. Yeah, so the neurologist now is coming out and saying, yeah, people are becoming so much weaker. And when you are weaker in your body, then it makes your mind weaker. Because this is a neurologist talking about this. And I'll look at that video too if it's still up. And so she is saying that it's making, because people are not building their strength, and they're working smarter, and that they're not working harder, and they're becoming weaker, and it's affecting their minds. And so we're becoming a weaker, stupider society, just like in that movie that they had, you know, were directing us towards. What was that one called? Idiocracy, that movie, where the future that they had proposed is full of ignorance and laziness and, you know, hoarder houses and shit. So anyways, that doctor's saying that. Another study, what have I been motherfucking saying about this too, is I have, you know, like, I know people think I'm so weird how I talk to Stella. So I've talked about this for years and years and years, because of my relationship with her, and seeing like, no, she understands what the fuck I'm saying, you guys. And people be like, oh my God, you're so weird. And I still, you know, and talk to her. And then I have a totally different relationship with her, like I've said about the medicine. And if she refuses it, then I, will trust her or whatever. And she did dig out the antibiotic the other day, and so we stopped those. So the next part of the bottle I'll save in for another thing. And right now I think she's doing it. I'm just gonna stay on the horse paste stuff, and I just feel like that's going to clear everything up. But, and then other things too, because she still gets all this natural stuff in my teas and stuff. Like she still gets moringa and burdock root and all this stuff. So, and nettles, like she gets a lot of stuff out of my tea. And so, and the food thing, like this morning, well, we just ran out treats. And so, and I get paid on Friday, so I'm going to try and stretch it out, and make her go this week without any treats, which is going to be an ordeal. But I'm going to run out of a lot of stuff this week to get to the end of this week. But, it'll be fine. That happens a lot on the last week. And, it is a lot easier if you get paid every week, I swear to God. But anyways, so this new study that they're doing, and they've got, I don't know if it's like 14 dogs in this study, and they're hooking them up to MRIs, and then they are giving them different commands and stuff like that, watching how their brain works. Well, their brain works like ours, and they're able to decipher the difference between tone and words, and they follow commands. And when your tone doesn't match your words, it confuses them. Like they'll just sit and look at you like, okay, she's acting like she's happy, but she's saying something else. So they understand what it is we're saying. They have way more understanding. And I have been saying that and saying that and saying that to people. And people have got to learn to have respect for animals, And one thing I've noticed with Stella is, I'll say something to her, and, I can't just immediately be like, I told you. No, I'll sit there and say something. She's got to process it. And so sometimes it'll take her, longer. As I've said, it's more like a slow child or something. And, so she'll slowly process, which, I understand that because of the brain injury. There's so many things. Like, oh my God, my daughter was trying to tell me some stuff. When you spend your time alone with your dog, and it's like, I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Then my daughter's sitting here and she's trying to explain some stuff to me, I think with some of the different dramas going on or something. And she would be explaining these things. And I'd be like, what? Like, so who, like, how? And it's like my brain can't comprehend it. And I think some things, like if it's drawn out, like if I can put it together, but some things my brain is just like, okay, this is just a bunch of information. Nothing's going together in my head. So I get the thing of slowing down, and, and sometimes I just can't put it together. It's just like, okay, okay, whatever. It's like, I can't get all those pieces in there to fit. And so I understand, and Stella's like taking a minute to, before she does something, and she's processing, and then she'll get up and she'll do it. And so I can recognize that it's, a little slower. So when you're trying to tell your dog stuff, and you can use way more than just sit and all those, like they don't know what they're doing. No, you can use way more words. Like I can give Stella full sentences, and she can do it. And she's working so much harder on her communication to me. And so this morning she told me that she wanted to eat, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And this is a conversation too I have with my daughter, because she has her dogs on a schedule. And so it was making me think about, like, I don't do that with Stella. I can see, like, if you're working and you don't want your dog, like, you have to fit it in, like, when you get home from work. And then especially, they have real rowdy dogs that get bloat and stuff easy, so they have to make them sit. Like, if your dog is rowdy, you are supposed to make them sit for an hour after they eat, so that it's less likely for them to get bloat and have digestive issues. So after they eat, they have to sit and be calm. And so she has to have a schedule where it's like, we got home and get their food, and then give them their time, and then take them for a walk. Like, it's a whole thing. So I'm not saying, like, oh, you shouldn't have a schedule, you got to live like me. That's not what I'm saying. Everybody's got to figure out their own stuff. And all your own stuff has lessons. That's what I'm saying. There's always a counterpart. There's always another side of everything. And the more that you have the ability to try and search for the other side in your mind, to look and see more, then the more that you will see. And so let me see, did I finish that about the because I didn't finish that about the girl and the authoritative parent thing, because this girl was asking for help because she was really struggling, because she had been raised by those authoritative parents. So she didn't say, like, she had a mom who was like not really present. Like, my mom was in the house, she was a housewife and stuff, but she wasn't interactive with us unless it was like, I swear to God, it would be like if you were giggling, she'd hear that when you were obviously doing something naughty. Everything we were always doing something naughty. We got sent to our rooms all the motherfucking time. And so that's why there was so much time where we would spend it outside. Like these other kids that are like, oh, we got stuck outside. We're outside. Like, oh, we wanted to be outside, motherfuckers. And so we would spend as much time outside as possible. But when you're in the house, you're always motherfucking in trouble. And for God's sake, she didn't want somebody else's parent to catch you doing something outside and go tell your parent, and you're stuck in your house waiting for your dad to come home. And so we'd be stuck in our bedrooms waiting for our dad to come home to spank us with a belt. And it was like a totally different way of living than I think a lot of kids even have any idea about. And but everything is this generational learning. Like I've said, it's like this generation's learning this generation's learning that, and then they have this subcategory where they try and do these introductions of poison. Well, let's see what happens if this. Let's see what happens if this. Like I think there's a lot of stuff. Like, did they introduce a disease that then initiate a thing in people's minds about, let's all do it together, and threesomes and orgies and sex. And yeah, I was even thinking, it's so crazy too, is when you think about it, the whole bar culture and the whole dating culture and how it's become so much about, get drunk and have sex with people, because it's always going to end up making you feel bad about yourself. Everybody's looking for a love connection, but that's not where you find love. And just like people are looking for peace of mind and alcohol, and it's not where you're going to find it. Like, people are looking in all the wrong places. But part of it is knowing what you're looking for, too, is your awareness. The more you become aware of yourself, the more that you can figure out, what you need to work on and where you need to look. And so this girl, she was talking about, now she's a parent, and she is struggling so hard with her firstborn. And she said that she had also approached parenthood as being authoritative because that is all she knew. But then she had changed. I can't remember exactly how she explained it, because my mind was going into my childhood and thinking about my stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because I did that same thing when I was a parent at first with my oldest daughter. I tried the spanking. I didn't like that. Then it was like, well, use a wooden spoon. You're not supposed to use your hand. So I tried that. I was like, oh no, this is horrible. And then, and then when I asked my mom something, she'd be like, well, you just slap her. My mom, it's so crazy too. My mom doesn't remember slapping me so much, but but that was her solution. And I did try it one time. But she was like 9 or 10 at that point, and she was so mouthy, and I didn't know what to do. And so my mom was like, you go slap her mouth. And so I smacked her mouth like that, and I felt like a monster. That was the end for me. That was like, oh my God, I'm a motherfucking monster. And I became very more passive. It was like I went the other side. And is what this girl was talking about too, is this, when you are trying to break the authoritative one, you go so much in the other direction, and that's not good for the kids. And so, her oldest daughter is like a rebel in the family, troublemaker or something. but there's so much more complex things in our family, in our families, and our transition from parenting, from child to parent, and all these different relationships, and how it affects us, and then how we are affected, and how we react to how we're affected, and then how it affects the next ones, because they don't have the problems that we had. We're creating new problems. And so it's so complex, and there's so much to learn, and you're always learning about yourself. But there is, like, when you try and break from this authoritative parents, of like, do what I say and shut your mouth, and then you can become too lax, like you go completely the other direction. And because I was like that from I had stopped spanking when they were super little. I mean, that mouthy thing, that was like way later on. And that's when I was like asking my mom, like, I don't even know what to do. And then I tried one of her solutions again, and I was like, no, this is, me and my mom are different. Like, she can do this and not feel anything. I feel like I'm a monster, like I'm a psychopath. And so it doesn't feel right to me. I can't be that kind of parent. And then when you're not, you can be really judged by other people. Like, your kids are so out of control, which, my kids were naughty a lot of times. Like, I would have go into the doctor, and I have to take my two little kids, and this is the other two were in school, so this is my younger two, and we would be sitting in there, and they would just be being naughty, and then the doctor would come in and start reprimanding them and telling them they better behave if they're going to sit in there and stuff. And and I was just sitting back, like, I didn't. It's so wild how you can have no awareness of yourself, like, what was it? There was some kind of, this thing with, like, there's so many things, I don't know. I think there's a lot of us that were not taught certain things, certain hygiene things and stuff when we're little, especially if you come from like in a chaotic house, or young parents, and maybe they didn't ever learn or whatever. And then plus, hearing things throughout time where it's like you have an awareness of it, but you don't really know the importance of it. And the loofah thing on the body, especially as you get older, I don't know if it's like your skin starts trying to grow barnacles, or what the fuck is it's aging, but it gets more bumpy or something. And so using that thing, it like takes off all those little bumps and makes you more smooth again. And so now I'm always like using that loofah thing. But like, that was one of the things, like, I didn't know the significance or the importance of it. I just thought, oh, some people like to do that. And then if you tell somebody you don't, and they're like, think you're so weird, but it's like, so many of us, we don't have a fucking clue. I don't have any fucking clue. Like, I didn't even realize you're supposed to be fucking brushing your tongue until somebody told me. And they're like, don't you brush your tongue? I was like, what are you talking about, brush your tongue? Like, it's just so, we all think that we all know all the things that we know. Like, we think, oh, well, if I know it, they must know it. It's like, no, we got to learn how to just, have respect for everybody, and everybody's in their different places of learning, and everybody's lessons, and they're impactful. Like, listening to this girl, and she was asking for other people to give more ideas. Like, she was really lost, and is really like out there looking for more people who have gone through it. Like, I left a comment and stuff, because to me, there's a lot of things, especially at this point of having my kids be grown, there's a lot of things, like, you think as you're a parent, like, you can fix these things, and you're going to help this kid and stuff, but really there's so much more of, like, where you got to relax. You're pushing on your kid to try and get him to grow up and under your control, and it really is it is different than that. And it's like, you do put more pressure on your kid, and you don't even realize it, because of whatever reasons. If you think, well, I should be doing this, or, well, this is what a good kid does, well, I wish somebody would have helped me do this. Well, it always depends on what is your motivation, and that's what you got to recognize. But there does need to be a lot less, helicopter over a person, just because they're your child. doesn't mean that you should be so on top of them. Is a lot of things resolve themselves over time. Just like, I mean, this is my youngest daughter now who has stopped talking to me. Well, I've gone through this, except for with the third daughter, the one that was here the other day. She's only stopped talking to me for, short pockets of time. But I've done that too to her, where it's like, okay, let's just not talk for a while. It's like, let's just not talk because, you know, and so we'll have like, little pockets of time. I don't know. I think the longest maybe has been like a couple months with her that she hadn't talked to me, or I hadn't talked to her or something. But my oldest daughter, my oldest daughter was definitely the hardest. Like, your oldest kid really teaches you a lot of stuff, and I swear, as because she does a lot first. The first person to lie to me, like, or I thought, your kid won't lie to you. That was hard for me. And then people who assume that all kids lie, they think, what kind of idiot are you? I was like, I don't know. I guess a trusting one. I don't know. But that puts more pressure, because you're not just a liar, but then you've lied to me, so I'm going to look at you like a liar. So I am going to reflect back to that, It's weird how it all works and stuff. But anyways, but she had a lot of struggles, I mean, she's one whose baby died, and she's had a lot of stuff. Like, everybody has got so much stuff that they have to get over for themselves. And then we shouldn't be putting more pressure of make me feel better, make me feel better. Like, do what's right for me. Do what makes me feel happy. We got to be so much more of, you find yourself, find your truth, find your happiness. And when they're little kids, there's like a parameter of keeping them safe and stuff. But I just feel like we put a lot of pressure. And it is kind of like, it's cultural too, is societal norms. Send your kids to school. Like, I just saw this video. This is heartbreaking, man. It was a little kid, and he seemed like a smart little kid. Like, real cute too. So you can see, like, there's a boy who, is sitting at the back of the class, and he doesn't quite get what the teacher's saying. He's a little slower. He's got things on his mind. Maybe his dad comes home like my dad, 2 o'clock in the morning, slamming around drunk. And so he's got, pressure, and, maybe his parents fight every night or whatever. So he's angry, and then he gets his other little bitter kids with him and gets angry, and then this boy up there who's so cute and so smart, just seems to have it all, is going to piss him the fuck off. And then so they're going to pick on that kid, and the kid is not going to have the knowing and understanding because he hasn't lived enough to experience enough of what drives these people. So he is going to feel like he's the problem. He's the one who's got something wrong, and the pressure of being picked on is too much. And kids, we've got little kids doing themselves in over this shit. And so this kid was crying in the car, begging his mom. He's like, I just need a day. I just can't go. I can't take another day of them picking on me. And he's bawling his head off. And it's like, fucking schools are just torture chambers, man. And the whole thing is like, why force this one kid? I've already got the whole story written. I don't even know the whole story. I'm just making this shit up. But you got the kid at the back of the room, and he can't keep up on, if this kid is like good at English, like English was really hard to me, is obviously with and this kid, if he's doing really good in it, and this kid is frustrated and just wants to kick his ass over it, then but maybe this kid doesn't need to be in English. Maybe they just need to put him out in sports and shop and stuff. Maybe he just needs to learn how to make things and become skilled in some other way. Why does he need to learn? Maybe this other kid's going to write a book, and he needs to know English, and it's something that is, he's eager to learn it. He understands it because it's part of his program that he's here to run, and it's a part of his alignment. And, just like we have some kids who are really into science. Some kids are really into math. Like, that was a shocker to me. I even have some grandkids. Like, math, most of the things in school are very hard for me. I was not a good student, 100%. And, but The math. Oh my gosh. Math was so fucking hard. English was hard, but math was so fucking hard. And I couldn't, like, it does not, still to this day, does not work in my mind. And that girl who was talking about Generation Jones, she was saying during Generation Jones is when we had the introduction of the calculator, and that we would have a calculator, but we weren't allowed to use it for math because that was cheating. And I do remember that. I do remember because I kept on being like, why do we need to know this if we have calculators? Like, why can't we just use calculators? But is the thing. Work harder, not smarter. Because right there is like a, we should challenge our minds and stuff. We shouldn't just go for the easy route all the time. And, but we should also be more sequestered into something that's good for us, where they're trying to siphon us into places that are harder for us to make life more difficult and challenging, not for our benefit, for our surrender, so that we will surrender our mental health, we surrender our physical health. And so it's all part of their plan, you know. The schools are meant to beat us down, meant to frustrate, meant to be like my one daughter, she has a stepson right now, and he's at that age, it's like the year before graduation, and he's not doing good in school. They start putting all this pressure on you, and it's like drop out, get a GED, finish school, like all this starts happening for a lot of kids at this time of where school is ending, and the societal pressures and norms, well, you have to do this even to get a job and stuff. I'm like, but to me now, of how I look at things is like, the school is bullshit, and that that pressure is just like them trying to tell us, we have to have a credit score. What is it? There's another motherfucking thing now that they're going in on this credit bullshit. Like, they're trying to keep everything of our lives so controlled and so contained. And they don't give us any parameters. Like, our cages are getting smaller. Like, we had a cage, we caged ourselves in. We took the bars and said, okay, yep, I'm gonna put this one here, this one here. We caged ourselves in. And then they started closing in the walls on us. And that's when it started hurting. That's when people started waking up and saying, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute, like, this isn't working. And so we have to say, no, hell no. And start taking the bars down. Like, no, I don't need this. Oh, I don't need a job to feel like I have to be successful. I don't need a big house. I don't need this. I don't need this. We are the ones who have to take down the bars and reprioritize our lives and start looking at what we really do need. And relationships are vital. Like, this lady, in this recognition of, how she was raised, and then how she was starting to raise her kids and wanting to make changes, and how when you start making the changes, you go to the other extreme. Like, you don't know how to find your own balance. You don't, like, but the thing is, see, when we are going from generation to generation, then we're building up this it's like we're creating the poles. We're creating this atmosphere to be able to reside in, rather than this chaotic one that was controlled by them. We bring ourselves into, into the gray. Everything is bringing us into the gray, so that we can establish ourselves and our beliefs and how we look at everything, not this black and white. It brings us into this other state so that we can readjust and get out of this, black and white, good or bad. And because there's way more to it, it's way more complex, especially in these relationships, especially when you come into, be birthed into the experience of being a child, being a parent, being a grandchild, like you have a grandparent. You have all these different roles are to teach you all these different things. And not everybody gets all of those lessons. It depends on what lessons you come in to have. I mean, some people don't get out of the lessons from being a childhood. I just saw this really sad one too. Oh yeah, there's a lot of shit going on with these, content creator, influencer people. Like, so many lives falling apart at this point, and stuff being exposed. Even there's one that people are all freaking out about this Dance with the Devil cult, and these influencers on TikTok and stuff, and that they're like all heartbroken, falling apart about this. And I don't know all of that story, but I know all these different things are happening with the influencers and stuff. Like I had said, there's going to be a lot of fucking drama. That is their like sole thing. For some of them, there's a public thing about what some people are going to go through, and it has for different reasons and different causes. But anyways, this guy, he was doing videos. I went to go look at his other videos to see. I mean, it seems like it's mostly just him and talking, or but not like talking about serious stuff, more of lip sync, or say something a little quirky thing or something. And but his daughter was like, I think in two of them, like she jumps up and climbs on him or something. So when he's doing this video, he's crying, and he's saying that if you haven't seen him for a while, they've had a lot going on. And him and his wife, which I didn't see her in any of the videos, is there's a whole fucking shit blowing up on the family vloggers, man. That shit is blowing up too. And man, it's just like you can just see this stuff coming. And so on his was his little girl started acting strange, so they took her in. Now they found out she has an inoperable big giant brain tumor, and they're giving her like 6 months or 9 months or something. And so he's devastated. They just want to spend all their time with her and stuff. Well, of course, you know what I said in the comments, like, get the horse paste. And just start detoxing. That's the thing, is people don't realize, like, you gotta get the motherfucking chemicals out of your house. And a lot of people have had these things, and it puts stuff in them that's there to grow. You got to get the cleansing, all the cleansing, the heavy metal cleansing, the zeolite. Remember years ago when I was doing that one, that one is important. And all of the different ones, to clean yourself out as best you can. And okay, now I have two competing things. Okay, because Joe fixed it and the water thing. Oh yeah, because he was saying the same thing about the water thing being sewage, because I was just talking about this with my daughter too. And it's all, sewage, and it's hard to go in and want to take a shower and stuff. He goes, man, I'm down to like taking 2 showers a week now. It's like, dude, same. It's like, it's hard to go in there and you like, fuck, I'm gonna go in and shower in someone's sewage. Like, the water comes out looking clear because it's full of fucking chemicals, but it's like microscopic. It's got people's drugs and disease and all sorts of skank ass shit in it. It's like, recycle the water. It's nasty, man. And I can't even believe fucking people drink it. That just grosses me out. And so there was another one too. Wait. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay, so the little girl who had the inoperable one, I would be everything, any of the ones that people have, I would be getting, detoxing all, like, go through your house, getting all the chemicals out. And then there's different herbs and herbal teas and stuff you can get that are really good with detoxing and building up your not antibiotic, and anyways, I can't think of the word, but they're cause it's not antibiotic, but it's something antimicrobial. And so they have a lot of good stuff with these teas and stuff. So I would start definitely a regime with the herbal teas, or root-based teas and mushroom teas and all that stuff. And then I would do the cleanses. And especially if it's like a big tumor, all you gotta do is look up and see the people who have healed themselves and see what they say. And there's some people who do it every day for 3 months. And then they're going in when they're being told, you've only got a few weeks to live, and they're going back to the doctor, and the doctors are being like, what? Like, how'd you do that? And because, it's just coming at it a different way. And so many people don't know that way yet. There's so many people who don't even know that all of these things that are growing inside of us are microscopic, it's all parasitic stuff that we have to get rid of. And so, but there was something else. Let me think what it was. It was a different video of, I swear I was already talking about it. I already said about the guy in the sky. But the thing with the generations was that something I was gonna say. But the thing with the generations is that we are here to learn from each other, not be judgmental of each other. And oh yeah, with my daughters and they're not talking to me, because my second daughter, she has used that as like to cut me out of her life several times. Like, wouldn't let me talk. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't let me see my grandkids. And then she got over that thing, and then started hanging out. And then she even lived with me a few different times. But she has had periods of time where she stopped talking to me. The whole thing is like I've gone through it so many times with other daughters. Now that this one's doing it, it's like I say a lot of the stuff is temporary. In giving people space to heal and not trying to force them. I guess there's a big thing now in that movement of the kids who are trying to what's it called? Remove themselves from their families. What is it called? I just did said. But it's like when you don't want anything to do with your people in your family. And then, so you have moms, because I was still like, my one's was just her birthday. And it's like, last year I think I had sent my other daughter money and said, well, go take her out to lunch or something. This year, I don't think I did anything because they don't want that. They want you to not exist. And so, that's what I've been working more towards, even though it's hard. Like my daughter will still tell me, I say, how's she doing? And, and so I'll get it here that way or whatever. But the person who's cutting you out wants you to cut them out. They want you to pretend like they don't exist. Just, I don't know, I've coming into my mind where these kids, who have changed their names and get real mad if their parent doesn't call them by their new name. It's kind of like, this other thing. And so I have gotten to the point of like, okay, she doesn't want to talk to me. She doesn't, that's fine. She doesn't want to have a mom. That's fine. It's, it's going to be her lessons, wherever that goes. And hopefully her growth, hopefully, that she really is growing and healing and stuff like that. But I think a lot of it is just a compartmentalizing, it's just, stick it in the trunk. I don't have to deal with this person. This person irritates me. This person makes me feel pressure. This person makes me feel bad about myself. This person pisses me off. So I just want to, forget about them, put them in the trunk, go about my life. But don't do that. You got to spend the time healing it, because when you put stuff in the trunk, all you do is build up you fill your closet full of skeletons. You're not healing anything. And at some point you will always have to heal it. And then you just keep on stuffing things in the closet. That's what we're about to witness in so many people, how much stuff they had just, their closets, they had moved into storage buildings trying to hide from their pain, hide from their past, hide from their trauma, hide from themselves, because they don't want to feel uncomfortable. And you got to feel uncomfortable sometimes. Being uncomfortable is a good move towards change, a good move towards healing. It's going to make you feel better in the long run. And so, and that's the thing, is people don't realize, like, all of your troubles and challenges that you're going through, yeah, they're hard and they suck. But when you get to the other part of them and you look back, you see the value, the importance, and why it happened. And then, so when you're going through it, just try and keep in mind, like, there's a reason this is happening. I may not understand it. And the more you look eagerly at the situation in a way to understand how you can benefit from it, the more you can heal. But, if you're constantly just stuffing stuff in a bag and packing your suitcases and, filling the trunk and everything, then you are not dealing with things. You're not handling things. You're not facing things. And so you just are making things not be seen. It's like you're putting your head in the dirt and burying your head in the sand instead of dealing with what you need to deal with. And so then when the universe does this, this little twirly dance thing, and it switches us to go the other direction, that is when it's going to be like a burden, like, fuck. You got these bags, and however full you've gotten them now, you're the one carrying them. And you got to unpack them. You got to get through it. Like, you got to face some of your hardest opponents, your parents, your grandparents, Uncle Joe. You got to face the people who have hurt you. And not just out of anger, is you've got to find forgiveness so that you can heal. Staying angry is just going to make you sick, especially if you've packed the bags. Then it's got nowhere else this energy can grow but disease. So you have to unpack the bags, and you have to heal. You have to face, the things that have hurt you. And even if it's just to, speak your truth, even if it's in a letter and you write somebody. But this cutting ties and pretending like people don't exist anymore and stuff isn't a healthy way to heal. And because that's what it's all about. It's not just about trying to make yourself feel good. That's the part of the problem we've got ourselves into in this society. Everybody just wants to feel good. Just want to feel good. That's what has led us into following impulses, not thinking things through, just looking and craving something that just makes us feel good for a minute. And we got to move out of that. That's just toxic. That's childish behavior. And it's a way that they kept us in a position so that they could look down on us. And so it was like manipulated because we have the abilities, they've just been stifled. So this is your time to start recognizing and noticing, and realizing your own self, like I keep saying, realizing your own self and your own patterns, because it is all through awareness. Oh yeah, it was that person who, that one was that one with the girl with the awareness that she does. So was there, it seemed like there was another thing. So I might have cut off on another thing, and I'll try and remember it tomorrow. There is a lot of other little things, but this is the main thing. The main thing is what we're here doing, and it is healing and letting go of things and growing and using this time. This is a time of change. It's a time when all the things falling apart, but start recognizing the things that are falling apart are things that people are holding on to. It's like the universe is yanking shit out of people's hands. Like, people are still going to Chipotle. People are still going to doctors. People are still going on vacations. Oh my God, the vacation nightmares, the airplane nightmares. Like, there's so much, and people just keep trying to just live their lives like nothing is happening. And but this is a time of like solidarity. This is a time of, you would have a lot more effective time if you spending time like in an isolation, or at least spending time on your own self, like what I was talking about, the you time, finding time for you and making that a priority. And it doesn't have to be, like, oh, well, I'm going to make sure that I go and swim laps at the pool every day, because that is still, you're still doing something. That's not unplugged time. Unplugged time is where you have communication, is where you can learn to listen to the internal voices and hopefully start deciphering the differences, start having recognition of the dark energy, of your guides, of the universal mind, of your internal dialogue. You've got to have time separate away from everybody's energy and everybody else's voices, so you can stop and listen to the voices inside of you, and you can start, talking back, and, shuffling them around, putting them in position where they should be, and not just giving them all the same platform. So, anyways, that's where we're at today. That's what I got to say. Is hopefully it made sense. I don't know. Just remember to love yourself, to love everyone, and have a loving day, because that's what's important. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.